this week, as many people may know, it's International Women's Day on the 8th of March, which happened this Tuesday. I've been to so many events over the past week. I feel like I've been celebrating left, right, and centre. And a lot of those events have included female entrepreneurs. So I was really delighted last Friday to go and see the amazing Sarah Davies, who is her background is crafting, but she has been on Dragon's Den and is on Dragon's Den. She also was on Strictly Come Dancing, and it was really wonderful to be around her and hear some of the stories that she shared about what's been going on for her. And, I think as women, it's really important that we have mentors that we can look up to, role models that we can aspire to be. And so with Sarah, she really shared what it's like for her. I mean, she's a mom. She's got, I think, 2 or 3 kids. She was doing Strictly Come Dancing, running a business with over 200 staff. She's got a husband who's busy. She's got family commitments and caring commitments. And I think the fact that she was so honest and raw about what it's really like for her, one of the things she shared was how important her health is to her. And I think as well, for many entrepreneurs, not just women, you are running around, especially in the beginning, trying to pay the bills, manage your cash flow, win clients, network, sell yourself, do your website. There's so much to do. But with Sarah, what she had said is she realized she needed to prioritize her health because she wasn't able to keep up with all the things she needed to do. And the only time she could squeeze that in was at 5 a.m. Because that was the only time she could go and run. It's free. She wasn't paying for a gym membership that she didn't need. And she was actually able to go running every morning just to help focus her, get her energy up, and just look after her health. So I think that was one of the events that I've been to over the last few weeks that's really inspired me. Another event I held on Monday myself, which I did a panel on the power of fierce authenticity, where I was speaking to some really brilliant women about their thoughts on what it means to be authentic. And what I was really inspired by at this event was a young girl, only 10 years old, who baked some of our cakes. So she has a venture every Friday in Gateshead. She stands outside her house and sells cupcakes. And she's increased her prices recently to 50p. I've been very happy to mentor her and actually fund her food and hygiene certificate. So she had the courage to speak on the night, and I'd asked her to tell people about her new venture, Mooncake Bakery, and also why she wants to bake, what she loves about it, and how people can support her. So I was really proud of her because when I asked what fierce authenticity means to her, she had said, well, actually, it's having the courage to let your light shine, to be bright and to be yourself and be unique. And I just love that. At the same time, there is something she said that really worried me. And this is something she said, to me in some of our mentoring sessions. And that is that I don't do the maths. My brother is my banker. My brother looks after my money. And that is something that I think is really important for us to think about. How are we encouraging young girls and women into entrepreneurship? What are we doing to support them in developing certain skills and helping them to feel confident? When I did some research into the challenges females face when they start a business, the challenges women face in many areas of their life, there is always an expectation that the man will sort the money. And now that isn't for everyone, but it's certainly something I see in research around gender and entrepreneurship. So an example of that I've seen recently is somebody sharing a story of when they go to investor panels, pitch meetings, negotiating contractual agreements. They have a business with their dad, and actually they are a 35-year-old woman going into these meetings, and all of the technical questions will go to their father, whereas they'll get the niceties. So tell me about the business, how are you doing? But when it comes down to what is the technology that underpins this, that is seen as, those questions can only go to her father. And so why are we still doing that? Why are we not asking women to be able to explain the technology and information around their own products that they are actually launching? I find this really interesting. And so those are just some musings I wanted to share. Another thing that was interesting from my panel on Monday was just the whole discussion around who is in the room. So when we are looking at who is sitting on investment panels, who is making decisions about which business gets funded, we have things like, do we have enough diversity on our panels? And I don't just mean in terms of race or faith or different backgrounds. I'm talking about disability, accessibility. One of the things that research says around women and the limitations they face is going into a board and pitching your idea and telling people, this is what I want to do, this is the ways you can help me, this is where I need support. Many women actually struggle with just going into that room. There's a lot of psychological barriers. There is the concept of imposter syndrome. What if they find me out? What if I'm not good enough? So there is a lot of research to say that women will not actually put themselves in those situations. But there's also many lived experience and stories of feeling that they haven't been empathized with, they haven't been able to actually have, any understanding of just empathy and compassion to their circumstances. There's many women tell me of their experiences where they are asked, when are you going to have a child? When are you going to start a family in those sessions? So if you're going for investment and the investment panel says, okay, tell me about your plans for children, that to me still seems problematic. It is a valid question, of course, if you're going to invest in somebody and they're going to take time away from their business. But there are so many things that I wonder, do men get these questions also? So I'm just thinking out loud of some of the questions that I've been having. One of my panelists on Monday, Grayson, who is someone I really love working with and look up to. Kay is a rapper. She also is a hip hop artist. She is now being funded through Arts Council England. She's doing some amazing work and I love watching her grow. She has been working so hard all the time on all of the work she does. But Kay shared, even in the rap industry, how, she is going and she's working really hard, but she's going into these spaces that are so male dominated. And being in rap, it's which stereotypes does she need to be? There's either the idea of you going to fit the media and the brand and the production company will say you need to look like this, you need to wear that, you need to work on this area. But for Kay, I'm really proud of her because she's just living her best life as herself and doing amazing things. At the same time, she's smart because she's not just investing her time in her music. She's also spending time learning other skills. She's writing, she's giving back to her community. She's going into schools and working with the BBC and building her profile. So these are all really interesting concepts. But similarly, another panelist, Fajra, she was talking about, coming from a very Nigerian traditional family and expectations of being a doctor or a lawyer, but actually she wants to do fashion. And so she is a creative stylist, a creative director of her own company. And she is, incredible because she's working as a student, final year, lots of assignments, but she's also doing fashion stuff with the Fashion Society, as one of their committee and senior leadership. She's organizing shoots. And so Fajra was explaining why it's so important that we don't just put a label on someone and think, okay, they are a particular race or they are scientific, they're doing a science degree, so they can't be interested in fashion, or they can't be interested in God, or they can't be interested in any of the things that she shared. So I think what I've learned over this week, there's been some incredible stuff going on in the northeast of England where I live. But also around the world, I've loved to see so much on my feed, on LinkedIn particularly, which is where I mostly hang out, of women inspiring women and celebrating women. I was also fortunate on Tuesday to go to Leeds. And so in Leeds, I was able to chat to Laura Baker, said that name completely wrong, Laura Bartlett, who's not related to Stephen Bartlett. But Laura is the founder of House of Cocoa magazine. And she had a brilliant event, breakfast brunch on Monday morning, Tuesday morning. And what I loved about her event is the other women I was able to meet and learn about. So one of the things that came up in that discussion, really honestly, was around dress and what we wear. So again, as female entrepreneurs, it's very much about how we put ourselves together, how we put ourselves out, you know, the impression we want to make. And so many of the women on that panel inspired me because all of them were wearing such unusual clothing that I wouldn't have expected at a breakfast brunch with lawyers and people from, you know, insurance backgrounds and financial services. So one of the girls was wearing leopard print suit with patterns that completely clashed, and I absolutely loved that she had that courage to wear that. And it made me think again about that theme of fierce authenticity and wanting to really be yourself. But one of the discussions that came up a lot there was how difficult it is to start a business and keep your relationship going. And I thought that was very interesting. It's something I've mused on a lot. You know, do you stop and have a child? Do you seek investment? All of these questions we've already discussed. But all 4 of the panelists who were there spoke about, you know, following their dreams and having the courage to follow their dreams and how busy it can get, but then also trying to juggle somebody else's needs and their relationships. And it's not just about relationships with the people we love, our partners, it's also our family, our friends. So again, this is a challenge for many female entrepreneurs because usually, according to research again, women are the primary caregiver, whether that is childcare, whether that is caring for ailing parents, it may be caring for a disabled family member, it might be things like cooking or washing dishes or things like this. But it's really sad that so many people have ideas that they want to follow. They have dreams that they want to chase. But the scary thing is for them, without the funding and the startup capital, they can't follow those ideas. And then at the same time, they have to think about all these other sacrifices and compromises they may need to make in their own life. And so this is something that's been just whirring around my head all week, is how can it be more fair for women? What can we do? It's wonderful that there's so many exciting things going on all over the world, and people are really starting to open up this conversation. At the same time, how much of it is virtue signaling by organizations? How much of it is people being invited, women being invited to be on senior leadership positions, to be panelists? A year ago, I was really annoyed because there was a panel for, it was around energy and engineering, and it was all 4 of the panelists were male. There was no diversity in race or gender. So I was really shocked that on this panel, there was not one person of colour or a female. And when I'd asked and I'd said, I really wanted to come to this event, I was really interested in the topic, it was about clean energy. Why do you not have any diversity on your panel? You know, what are you doing? And they had said, it's just so hard for us to get a person of colour on this panel, and it's so hard for us to get a female speaker on this topic. Do you know what was the craziest thing? Is on that particular day, it was National Women in Engineering Day. And I could not believe that they would choose to do the event on that day, but also that same institution had over 20 incredible women working in energy, working in renewable energy, engineering, professors, academics. And I was just thinking, what are you doing? You haven't thought about this from the beginning. You're only thinking about it when it's pointed out to you, you know, during the event. And this happens a lot as well for women in leadership positions. And I wanted to point this out as well. There is a lot to say around, we've talked about lack of getting funding or the challenges around workplace commitments, caring responsibilities. But what about things like being invited onto panels, speaking? sometimes you are paid, sometimes you're not paid. I'm in a very fortunate position now. When I'm training, when I'm presenting, I'm able to actually be paid for that time. And I know that's really fortunate because not everyone's in that position. But it means that what I'm trying to do now is when I invite speakers, to also pay my speakers and to ensure that I have diversity of thought and representation, because representation matters. But there are so many women who are invited to be on charity boards, to be speaking, to be panelists, often because they have a diversity or they're from a particular background, or maybe because they have their own personal brand and that personal brand is attractive because they know if they hire that person, they're going to get lots of audience viewers or other sorts of things. But what I wanted to point out with that is it can be really problematic, because if you are using the same person over and over again, if you as an organization are inviting the same people but not paying them for their time, not really thinking about the commitments and the sacrifices they have to make in their life to be there, I think these are really important discussions for us to start having